Good morning, dance friends. Welcome to Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk is brought to you by the International Dance Entrepreneurs Association, also known as IDEA, and you can learn more about IDEA at ideadance.org. I'd like to introduce you to my co-hosts. She's my co-host with the mostest, studio owner, Warminster, Pennsylvania. She's a member of IDEA and the Gold Alliance and is balancing life as a new mom, running a business, and doing it all successfully. How cool is that? Welcome, Laura.
Thank you. What an intro. How are you, Ray? That was like,
I'm into you and what you have accomplished. I'm proud of you. I'll put it that way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So how are you? How's everything going?
You know what? I am in a great mood on this Monday morning. We had our first snow, but it was only about an inch and it kind of flurried all day long. And that was, I don't know, putting me in the spirit of the holidays, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about today's show. Today's guest is Andrij Deneka. I hope I said the last name right. Who started a movement and fashion designs. And it's all titled Embrace What Makes You Unique. And I feel like in our dance world, we are a group of people that come from diverse backgrounds, diverse beliefs. It's a universal language. There are no barriers to what you feel. It's like dance is this universal thing. And I also think as studio owners, the studio needs to be the place where kids who are different will fit in and feel like, wow, this is my home. This is my place. So I'm excited to have that happening in just a few minutes. We'll bring Andrij in.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to chat with him. And to hear like his journey, how it started with dance and how it turned into a whole fashion. And I'm excited to hear it firsthand.
So since we're on this theme, I'm going to hit you up. As a studio owner, what makes you unique?
So I feel as a studio owner for 12 years now, so I think we all wear different hats. So when I have my studio owner hat on, I think that for me, I like that we offer something for everyone is what I really try to offer. We have a very strong baby program. I started at 16 months and we have hundreds of children, 5 and under. And it just has continued to just flourish and grow. And I'm so thankful for that. But then I also I was just at Broadway Dance Center before Thanksgiving and I ran into one of my alumni and she's in New York dancing. So I love that I have little ones who just want to dance and even teens who just want to dance 1 or 2 hours a week. And then I have dancers who want to fully commit and be at the studio 5-6 days a week. And they want to make this like their life, like how I did and how many of us did. So I feel like to me, Libra, that's my zodiac sign. It's balance. It's a balance beams. So for me, I really wanted my studio to be a balance and to all of my families, not just the competitive families, not just the recreational families, but I really wanted to try to find a balance so that everyone could find a place at Libra. That was really my goal. And I kind of feel like, to be honest, I'm very happy I can say, I feel like I did that. So, which is awesome.
What makes you personally unique, my friend?
I thought about this. As a teacher, I can teach anything. I feel comfortable teaching my babies. I feel completely comfortable teaching senior modern or senior jazz. I feel comfortable teaching the beginner ballet rec class. Everyone's like, oh, there it is, that beginner 5, 6, 7-year-old. I'm fine with teaching them and I enjoy it. Of course, I have ones that I like really, I really, really enjoy the dancing diapers my mom made me classes. I really enjoy creative movement when I'm really planting that seed. I had a mom tell me, I heard from our neighborhood that once you have a dance class with Miss Laura, your child falls in love with dance. And that to me was just such, I literally like saved it and put it into like when when you have like a sad day, I have a folder of like compliments and I'm like, oh, that was a rough email. I'm gonna go look at my other emails of people who are happy, And I put that in there and I was like, wow, that's a pretty cool legacy to leave behind that I help kids fall in love with the arts. That's really neat.
How cool is that?
Yeah, that like it's amazing. It's amazing.
You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. And you're amazing too, because I feel like I feel like you've given all of us as studio owners and dance teachers like that push and the confidence to become our best version of ourselves in our studios. So we appreciate you as well.
I take that graciously because that is my ultimate goal in this life of dance that we all live in, is to inspire teachers to be the best that they can be.
And you do.
Thank you. For our viewers, I'd like to ask you to, in the comments, let us know your name, where you're from, but also tell us what makes you unique. I'd love to hear your answers. Before we bring on Andrij, I would like to, I have to get to that place, share with you a commercial for IDEA, the International Dance Entrepreneurs Association, and we'll be back on the other side. How cool is that? Welcome, Andrij.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning.
We're excited to talk to you.
Me too.
Cheers to you.
Yep.
Oh, I actually have it over here.
Okay. Oh, that's perfect.
That's for Monday.
Andrij, what inspired you to walk into your first dance class? How did you get into dance?
Two things. This is a true story. I was always obsessed with watching. This is a true story. Solid Gold when I was a little kid, my mom said. She was like, you didn't watch Sesame Street. You didn't watch anything else. You wanted to watch Solid Gold. That was the weirdest thing ever, but that's what I used to watch. That, and then I actually started doing, I used to do, it was on Sunday, like afternoons, acting in like a musical theater program that my sister was in. And it was called West Seneca Youth Theater. And I would just always I guess I would say I was more interested in the dance over time. And then when push got to shove, I didn't have time to do all of the, like both things. So I started dancing. I think I started when I was 10 years old, actually. Oh, wow. But I actually started more with like the acting and singing kind of thing, I would say. But I was always dancing since I was a little kid, obviously from what my mom told me, but what I remember too. Having talent shows with my like cousins and all those things. It's always been something that like I've really been like inspired by, yeah.
And what did you train in when you were 10? What was like your first style of the class you walked into?
My first year I took jazz. That was nice. Like, yeah. And that's kind of to this day still my favorite subject to teach and I would say thing to perform, like or take class of, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Was it hard making the choice to dance? Were your friends like thinking you were different, unique? What was going on there?
Honestly, like I would say, ironically and thankfully, growing up in a suburb of Buffalo at that time, it really wasn't that big of a deal. People thought it was a normal thing, and most of my friends that I had that were close friends were, some of them are still my friends to this day, that were neighbors. They were into the same thing. It was mostly girls, but like we are into gymnastics, like dance, all those things, and it wasn't really like something that people maybe thought was like, oh, why it's a boy, he's dancing, or like something different, until I would say until I got a little bit older, probably like 7th, 8th grade. I was actually quite popular, honestly, as like a kid in school until like 7th or 8th grade, and then once it started to become a more of a substantial thing, and that's kind of, oh, he's at dance, he's not. Then people I think kind of started questioning it a little bit more.
Yeah, I feel like that's a common thread with male dancers that we've been speaking to, that it's like that 7th, 8th grade. That's when either the bullying or people start whispering like about male dancers, and it's like strange. And I just find that interesting that it's that 12, 13, 11, 12, 13 age range is like when it starts to pick up for boys. I'm new to having boys at the dance studio. I own a studio right outside of Philadelphia. So I feel like whenever I talk to, or I'm on here and I'm speaking with male dancers, I'm like just soaking it all up, because he's only 7 right now. So I have years until he gets to that point. And my little one, Nate, he's his own company. He loves it. So I just want to make sure, like, I'm trying to fill my toolbox with everything that I hear, you know what I mean? So like when it gets to that point, I can help him with whatever he's going through or prepare him in any way that I can. So, but it's interesting. It's always that like 7th, 8th grade age, which I find interesting.
It's puberty.
Yeah.
It's you don't know.
I think a lot of it is also just, I mean, I think it does. I mean, this might sound kind of comes to like where you live too and where you grow up, obviously. What is like more popular? I know when I'm in the South and stuff, cheerleading and just in general, cheerleading, all those things like dance team are more popular. For a lot of guys do that. It's like a cultural thing, I think, too, from city to city, which makes things different too. Well, I mean, like I said, luckily, I mean, yes, I started to kind of have like mostly boys, like you said, and like 7th, 8th grade, especially high school a lot. But I don't know, for some reason, I don't know if I was just raised that way. I was just really strong that it didn't. I mean, obviously it bothered me sometimes, but it really didn't bother me because I was just so passionate and so into dance. And like all my friends I would hang out with like my teachers, like I would be at dance every day. And my parents were like super into it. My brothers, I have 3 brothers. I'm the second youngest of 5 kids. They were all actually like super excited by it and like loved it.
That's amazing. So you support a family and supportive mentors.
I think too, my dad was probably the most, like, he was like outspoken about it. He put like signs on the yard when I would come back from like nationals, and like he was really excited. So luckily I didn't have a horrible experience with that, but I do know some people do, for sure. I've had friends that had different experiences than me.
Right.
Yeah.
How lucky were you to have the dad that was supporting you? You know, one time I was doing an interview with a kid and we were on this topic. It was a boy, he was probably 16. And I said, what do your friends think about you dancing? Do they make fun of it? What's your situation? He goes, my friends are cool. My father gets bullied because they say his son is a ballet boy.
Oh, wow.
And it stunned me.
Wow.
Okay, that it was the father that was experiencing the abuse and the uncomfortableness of his son dancing. And I get it, because those guys are probably sitting around talking about the home run their kid hit or what team they're on. But it was his father that was being bullied. So if your father is supporting you 100%, then you've got over the hump, is kind of how I look at it.
No, yeah. I mean, I do also think my dad, I mean, he came from Ukraine when he was 15. So he's like a first generation. Like, so I feel like his background and culture also was the arts, and like that type of thing is a little bit more of an open thing, I think, in European culture. So like even my grandma, like, I mean, she passed when I was in high school, but I was already like dancing a lot. She absolutely loved it. Like, she was so excited that I was doing it. I think maybe him seeing that too helps, like, that she was so proud of that.
Great.
It's a cultural thing. Like, I don't know, like, he was so, like, my dad was probably, like I said, he was so excited. Like he never once backed down. He always knew that was something I wanted to do. And when I was living in other places and I started dancing professionally, he would be telling all of his friends, they would be asking like, oh, what is he doing now? Where is he now? I think so. That's something that I think kind of, I actually think he was proud of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because you made it. Yeah, not even just
not to sound like boasting, but like he seemed, I mean, it's kind of,
There
so
you go.
I can't, luckily I had a totally different experience than some people. But I know, like I said, people that do not have that experience. So it's, but
So if your experience was how you described it, what inspired you to go and I'm going to call it create this movement?
yeah. I mean, I would say, I think part of it has to do with how I was raised. I feel like I was always a very like creative and like open, empathetic kind of person, even as a kid. Like I was always interested by things that were different, and a lot of my friends were different. I feel like I even like kind of molded into all those different things growing up. Even as an adult, I feel like I'm changing every few years. Like I feel like I don't know, I just change. It's just how I was. I don't know if that's how I was raised, but in particularly the movement itself, I just like over several years, I would use the like that phrase, embrace what makes you unique, basically like with my students when I'm like, I judge competitions all the time. That would be like my judge's award, embrace what makes you unique. And I think I mentioned to you like in the past, it stems from like one of my favorite artists. Her name is Janelle Monáe, who over time has really kind of embraced herself more so as well over the years. But she actually kind of said something of that sort. She said, embrace what makes you unique, even if it makes others uncomfortable. And that's something that like really stuck with me. And then kind of from that moment on, that was something when I kind of started incorporating that idea, and more so the phrase embrace what makes you unique in my classes. But also like I judge all the time and teach, and I try as often as possible to use that when I'm judging as a special award, because I feel like a lot of those things get overlooked. It's always like choreography, showmanship, dance. Yeah. And I feel like those things are the easy things to like showcase. Yeah.
Because I feel like when you go to competitions, they're fantastic, but you're also checking off boxes. And that's your job as a judge. It's like musicality, technique, perform, you know what I mean? And you have to, so many percentage and so many points. So what you want is like, what's you as a person? What are you bringing to the routine?
Yeah. That was a big, totally. That was a big part of it. And then one year I was just like choreographing a nationals number for a competition that I'd worked for. And I actually asked the competition if they would make pins for the kids in the number. And it was like a little thing. Sometimes you can't do it, sometimes you can. So I was like, if you can really make this work, because there was like hundreds of kids, and they did that. And then from there on out, there was I think I mentioned you too, there was a studio that's a huge studio in Minnesota, and they were like, oh, you should like you should make t-shirts, you should make this, you should like make it something. And I never thought of it as like a business aspect, because like to me, again, the movement is the most important part of it. But that's kind of what launched into like the embrace what makes you unique movement. And I started selling things, and then from there people were asking, oh, can you make this, can you make this? And it kind of turned into, I would say, more than a movement. So
more than a movement.
More
How
than a movement.
Cool is that? You proud of yourself?
I am, because that's something, again, I feel like I'm pretty open as I become more like older, but I've always been kind of like this awkward kind of like different, like a unique person. That's kind of who I am. Like my friends would tell you that like I'm still to this day a little awkward. So like for me to accomplish something of that sort, even though it's maybe be small now, but I am pretty proud of myself. Yeah. Because I never maybe 20 years ago thought I would get to that comfort or confidence to do that type of thing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So how do kids react to this?
For the most part, I mean, it's not like a super long time that I've been kind of talking about this, but I would say it's probably been about 7 or 8 years that I started doing that award and stuff. I feel like most kids are like really into it, honestly, but I also think culturally, like it's just so different now. Kids are more open to accepting people, and they're like, they see more things that when I was their age we didn't see. So I think that does help. And I feel like when we talk about that in classes and stuff too, it like kind of makes a light click in their head that like it's okay, like, oh, here's our teacher, he's this guest teacher, he's done these things, or he's done this, he's seen these things, and he's here like proud of himself. And just, I don't know, I think them seeing me confident and talking about it makes them more confident as well. So the reaction from kids pretty much is actually usually pretty good. Like they get excited about it, and I feel like it opens them up like more in class, which makes them do better in classwork, obviously.
Now I have a question. We offer at Libra like 50 classes a week, and I have 9 teachers at this point. what is something like, what are some tools or things that we can use as dance teachers that you would suggest to like pull into like classroom?
Yeah,
He's ready for that question.
no, I am ready. I mean, I spoke with when I spoke with Ree the other day, I said like I mean, when it comes down to it, it's a pretty simplistic statement or movement, but that's what makes it so special. I feel like because it literally can associate with any person on the planet, and you can use it in any way, shape, or form. But as like a dance teacher, or even as a teacher, I would say one simple thing I do, which I do this with the younger kids a lot when we're in class. I literally say, just look at the person next to you, look at the person behind you, look at the person like across from you. Do they look the same as you? Are they the same as you? Do they have the same personality as you? Like all those types of things. And I think that for little kids, that's something that kind of like, oh, and they look around and they're like, oh no, that so and so is different. Once in a while, you get a kid who are like, oh, that's my sister, or that's my twin. Twins, but you're still different. You're not like, you're made up of different like molecular being, like you're different molecular beings. Like, so it's not. That's one really simple thing. I spoke with this earlier too. Just simply asking like what makes you unique, and that's a good starter. Especially, I think it's a lot of this works like the best for like younger, like junior mini type of thing. But is it a talent of yours, your look, your personality? Sometimes are your kindness, your empathy. That again, it could be just like an emotional thing. It doesn't have to be like a physical thing. Your background, where you're from, like all those things. And then I do think that kind of again makes a light click to like, oh yeah, I am this, I am that. I'm trying to think. There's a few compliments in class, not just from the teacher, like us as a teacher giving it to the kids, but just I think brewing that energy to compliment each other and like their friends within the class or their classmates really opens up their minds and makes them more comfortable, which again opens.
How would you do that? Would you actually like stop and say, Susie, what was something special you noticed about Laura tonight? How would you actually make that happen? I'm curious.
I honestly think, I mean, obviously we're dancing, we're not going to sit down as much and stuff like that, but I do think it's important sometimes that I feel like we're always on the go when we're in class, like get in on that dot and then do this, that. Like, I feel like sometimes it's okay even just to sit down, or if they're standing, just like kind of have a conversation like we're having, and just maybe like have an exercise where they partner up with somebody and I don't know, they talk to each other, and like I was kind of the same thing I just said, like what makes you unique, and talk to each other individually, and then we maybe come back out and open up about it as a class. When if they're doing a combination in class or something, when they have groups and they watch each other, maybe one group goes and then the other group gets up and they go up and they have a partner and they compliment them,
yes,
or say something to them.
And
that's a lot of teachers work, I think, already for. I know teachers do that for cleaning numbers and stuff like that, competitive dancers. And I always say, I was raised doing that as a dancer myself, but you always, not just to give critical things either. It's always there's always a good and a bad, and there are going to be critical things, obviously, but for especially what we're talking about, you want to obviously find things that are not necessarily the critical nitpicky things, but that's the easiest way I would say, especially if it's a competitive class of some sort.
Yeah.
They do that all the time. Like,
and I feel like too, that also, if you're planting that seed in the littles, because what we do is once our company classes, like their choreography is done, I split them in half and I say, this is your partner. And I do it like, you say, hi, my name is, and they really know each other. They'll have to introduce, their names again, just because they have to get used to doing that in life, because they're always like this. So they have to introduce themselves again. And then I say, you're going to watch them and you have to say one thing. And I never say what they're doing. And they say what they're doing bad. I said, no. I said one thing that they need to work on and one thing they do really well. So they have to do like a yin and a yang. And I feel like that really helps them, one, in the moment, like encouraging each other to know it's, well, you're not doing that right. Like it kind of nips that in the butt, because they're always doing the positive with the negative. It's that constructive criticism. But then when you think about it as like a teacher's perspective, that's also training like our next generation of teachers, that you shouldn't just be pointing out, you're not connecting your passe. You need to point your feet in your jetés. You need to straighten your knees in your piqué turns. Like you should also say like, wow, that took my breath away when you did that C jump. That was fantastic. Make sure when you're doing this, you're stretching your knee at that point though, but that was wonderful. Because I feel like we kind of sometimes, even as teachers, like get lost in the make it look perfect. It's
trying to build great dancers.
Yes.
And it's a great outcome, but in the long run, building great citizens
Yeah.
which we have the chance to do,
Yeah.
should be the ultimate goal, because very few of those dancers will move on to a professional career or a dance related lives.
Mm-hmm.
But they would all go through 12, 15 years in a dance studio learning life lessons that are going to make them more confident in themselves.
Correct.
Yeah. Another too, like the compliments too. I know I do this a lot. It's sometimes, I know it might sound weird, but like even like physical appearance sometimes, or when I'm a guest teacher, or even the kids come in, I'll be like, "Oh, I love your green hair today. It's like really cool, the color." And those are things I feel like I notice because again, like I've always been like a very creative, like artistic, like I've been in a lot of fashion since I was a little kid, which comes from my dad too, ironically. But those are things I notice I say a lot. "Oh, I like that shirt's really cool. That color." And again, it's something so simple, but it is something that makes them different from someone else in the class. Like, and maybe depending again what type of class you have, that might not happen as often. But I mean, I feel like the kids I teach sometimes are pretty diverse though. So that's another way of looking at it. It doesn't always have to be like complimenting on what they did in that moment in the physical dance part of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's a few other things we talked about this the other day was like the stickers I have, which I know a lot of teachers obviously have stickers, any type of teacher, but I do have the Embrace stickers, and it's like probably the easiest, but I think the most effective. I do that almost every class. The kids I teach on a weekly basis, obviously they don't want a sticker every week, but the same thing. But I do have different ones. But whenever I do guest teaching, I always make sure I have the stickers, and we do that at the end of class. And I tell them,
what do? You walk up to somebody and
I basically say I always end the class talking in some way, like of giving them some type of whatever. Usually I do like an improv exercise of some sort. And again, that's another way of them showcasing their individuality because it's not the choreography we did in class that I made up or something. And we kind of like come together in like a huddle or whatever. We're just talking, and I always give them a sticker. Sometimes I'll mention it in the beginning of class for the little kids. It's kind of like oh, if you get a sticker, like, I mean, I'm sure everybody does that.
Yep.
But yeah. But and I basically tell them to like obviously during the class we're talking about it at some point, but I say to make sure you put it somewhere that you're going to see every day, that you're not going to lose, because sometimes they'll take it and they'll put it on their shirt, and I say don't take it if you're going to put it on your shirt because it's going to go in the laundry or it's going to fall off. Sometimes you'll find them straggling on the floor, like whatever, the kids that don't listen. But and I'll say put it somewhere you're going to see every single day to remind you to like embrace what makes you different. So like the back of the water bottle, your phone if they have one, a mirror at home, your school folder, like your school locker, your dance notebook, like, it's just it's the most simplest thing, but it's an everyday reminder. Then they see that, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do that with regular stickers, but I think with the Embrace, obviously with the message, they're going to see that. Like, and I try to make sure that I really like make sure that they don't put it somewhere that they're going to lose it. That's like my biggest thing. And then I'll say, I'll come back on and you show me next time I see you, I'm going to see if you have a sticker still on your water bottle or whatever. Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot. You might have some more there, which we'll share, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Tell me about a kid or a student in a class somewhere that came up to you afterwards that you had an impact on just with your philosophy.
This is actually, ironically, I get it. I mean, not a lot, but I do get it sometimes, but one that like really felt good and like made me like, oh, this is like really something that I think is kind of clicking. I was in nationals in Seaside, Oregon, but there's a studio there, like there's studios there from Hawaii, like all over the place. It's like kind of a cool, like eclectic area for like a smaller national. And there was a girl, I did the opening, like a number again for like the opening or whatever. And so we're with them all week rehearsing. And again, I'm just weekly, it's kind of infused in how I just talk. Maybe not the phrase, but I'm always kind of in that type of energy, I feel like, when I'm teaching. There was a student, which again, it wasn't like a younger kid. It was like actually like a teenager, like probably 16, that age. Came up like towards the end of the weekend, came up like separately after we rehearsed. And she just basically said like, I'm having a really hard time, like basically coming out to her parents, and like her, not even just her parents, like her family, but her like classmates. She was like super uncomfortable about it. She said that me like kind of speaking about the Embrace idea or movement and like being so open to her as the adult in the room really made her like she said like really kind of made her like feel more comfortable and confident to kind of start to kind of live her truth, basically. I mean, she's still young, but she's becoming a young adult, and kind of become more confident, more, I would say, courageous, kind of speak to her parents and her classmates about it. And then even after, like, a weeks after, she messaged me on the Instagram, and like, so I actually sent her some stuff in the mail, and then her mom, ironically, like months later, was like ordering stuff for her daughter. Like, it's just, yeah. So that, to me, I mean, that's obviously a different aspect of it too, but that was, I would say, the one that hit the most because it was recent, and it was like kind of, it's a young adult. That's harder for them. I feel like sometimes that doesn't connect with that age as much as because they're like too cool kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was for me, that was a great moment because it's, again, growing up, that's how I was too. Like I mean, I came out like later in life and that sort. So it was just, I think that's what really hit with me. Like, it just, like, I don't know, that it was working. And I mean, I've had other kids as well and students, but even some adults, honestly, sometimes as adults, we talked about that the other day. It's not just for kids. I feel like a lot of adults have a harder time doing this than kids.
Ooh, go.
Actually, in the atmosphere we live in now, it's like, it's almost getting worse in that sense for adults. I feel like kids opposite. I think kids are more open, but yeah.
Why do you think that is? Because society's changing for these kids, and the adults were kind of raised with a different perception.
Like I was gonna say, I think it's a cultural thing that we're all different generations, but like, it's just, even in my generation growing up, it's just so different now. It's like it's embedded into your brain. This is how this should be. This is what should be. This is how you should be. Like, and I'm not even from a generation, I feel like that wasn't even that harsh, but over the time, I mean, I feel like it got a little easier as we go along, but it's just, I think it's that. And then these, like, I feel like a lot of adults try to fit into a certain mold that they think they have to fit into because they were, again, like, given that into their brain their whole life, and then all their friends are the same way. And I don't know, I feel like it's like a mold we were taught, I think we had to fit in to. And I feel like,
yeah,
definitely a cultural thing too, like what's happening. A lot of this, I always say, so a lot of it comes from what's popular in like pop culture too, music at the time. All those things have something to do with how our brains work. I mean, we don't think it on a regular basis, but it really does, especially as dancers. Like,
yes,
the dance side, yeah. So I don't know. That would be, I know, I actually say that in class a lot too when I'm guest teaching. I'll say, like, this is something your own adults in your own household might not do right now or have a hard time doing. Like, I actually say that sometimes. I'm pretty honest. And then I don't want to like overstep the parents' boundaries, but I mean, I feel like I'm pretty open about how I say it because again, there's some kids that probably have those situations. It's a given. Like, it's, yeah.
Do you ever wonder if one of these kids in one of these classes that you inspire goes home and the parents reject what it is?
I mean, I'll be honest, I never really like sat there and like thought about that, but I mean, I'm sure it happens, like you said. I would hope it doesn't, but I'm sure it's a guarantee. I'm sure it does. Yeah.
yeah.
It's actually ironically that you said that because mostly I use the Embrace What Makes You Unique stickers, but there's sometimes I'll like have them I always have them in my backpack when I'm teaching. I have like mounds of them, but I have a couple different versions of them for like different things. I have like one that says pride is year round, embrace what makes you unique. It's just like, doesn't have to be like an LGBTQ thing, but it kind of, that's where it stems from for me, but it doesn't have to be that, just pride in general in yourself. But I have like sometimes younger kids will see and they'll be like, oh, I want that sticker. And I'm like, oh, those are like, I'm talking like younger. And I'm like, with everything going on now, it's happening. I'm not going to say, no, you can't have that sticker. So I'm sure like they might take that home. And that's a good example of where I don't know what happens. I think for the most part, dancers' parents are a different breed though, I feel like. I mean, from one of my experiences over time, not everywhere.
Yeah.
That's a valid
Parents
point.
are a different breed. They like open to more things because they have to be.
Yes, and I feel like because when you're putting your children in the arts, I think if you know anything about the arts, you know how open and how we run with at least the choreographers run with different ideas and things going on in the world. Like, I very much explain that to my company parents. Like, me as a choreographer, I really pull from what affects me, and it might be something that's on the news, it might be something going on in my personal life, and I always put it in a way, especially for my senior dancers, that it's not overwhelming, it's not too heavy for them to portray, and I also do it in a way that they try to pull from within, and they use that inspiration from whatever situation they're going through on their own. But I think after parents kind of know that teacher and know the choreographers, I think they kind of get a sense of, oh, they're going to be doing some things that are going to not push boundaries, but, you know, really expose my children to what the arts and what they're capable of giving us, you know? So I think you're right. I think dance parents usually are a little bit more open. That's what I've come across.
And that's a lot of what has helped me like grow. I mean, I was privileged enough to growing up. There wasn't as many conventions and stuff like that. When I was a kid, there was like 3.
Yes.
Like, that were big. If that, I think there was 2 for a little while. Like but I was always able, my parents could afford to, I would go to those as a kid. And that in itself, just seeing those teachers, which is why it's so special to me to be a guest teacher now and talk about this, because I know for me as a kid that like seeing the teachers on the conventions was like eye-opening for me. Like that was just like, oh my God, this person's doing this. And they're like in that. And at the time, I probably didn't think of it as that as much, but to me, they were just like, oh my God, they're so cool. They're amazing. Like they're huge role models, and you barely even know them until you start to like,
right.
Just seeing that out there. I think sometimes parents seeing that too and seeing them successful does help open their minds to those things as well. Not just in dance, that's in general, like seeing a sport, whatever, sports or whatever. Sometimes not, sometimes opposite in the world we live in lately. I feel like sometimes they don't want to hear what they say, but it's, I don't know.
It's also our ability, right, as teachers to hand a kid one of those stickers. They go home and talk about how they are accepting of all kids. And your parent can't argue back with that, right? Now you've caused your parent to have to think.
Yeah, to put like a mirror in front of them.
Like, okay, my kid is telling me this. I grew up in a different kind of household. Yeah. So you could be the opposite of what I said before, which is, you know, the parent getting upset. You could actually be reaching the parents through the process.
Yeah, that makes, I've had some parents too, and not I mean, a lot of the kids I teach weekly, those parents know me a little bit more, obviously, so they're more open in general. But I've had parents from other states just like even just judging, sometimes not even teaching, just from the awards judging from the weekend, and they'll like message me on, oh, so thank you so much for giving my daughter that, like she was having a heart. Like you'll be surprised, some parents are pretty open about, I mean, not all the time, but like it has happened like multiple times, where the parents are, I mean, obviously the kids were probably excited, but the parents were almost more excited than the kid. I don't know. And I always say, like, I feel like doing what's right is not always the easiest thing, or the most popular thing, but I think it's the most rewarding. And like the energy we receive back at the end of the day from like doing something of that sort, or like supporting that is worthwhile. I think that's a good thing to kind of say as like to an adult, maybe. I don't know. If it doesn't make you uncomfortable, it's probably not, you're not getting growth from it as well. Something as simple, I feel like that's more of like to an adult, because sometimes I feel like they don't want to talk about those things, or maybe with their kids, because they think it does make them uncomfortable, because again of what cultural society tells us around us, especially now, I feel like. But if it doesn't make you uncomfortable, then it's probably you're not getting growth from that in either day. So it kind of works, like you said, it works for both of you. Like it's
this is the thing. I'd say in society in 2022, there's a lot of hostility to uniqueness.
Yes.
But the uniqueness is fighting back really hard. And it's people like us who influence the next generation that can really make an impact through our actions and how we are and how we communicate with our kids, and accept the girl with the green hair. We don't even notice the girl with the green hair, or the guy who is wanting to wear something different than other boys wear in dance class. If we do that, we're fighting back against this. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Like a systemic society, I would say. That's like my. Not to sound, I don't want to sound controversial, but I mean, that's what, again, it might make, like I said, it's an uncomfortable thing, but to me, it's the truth. Like it's, and I feel like age-wise, I'm not like 20, I'm not like 6, I mean, I'm in the middle. I kind of come from all different parts of little things of everything. So I don't know.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what are some final words of wisdom? And the word is acceptance in our classrooms that you might share with dance teachers, studio owners.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to think. I mean, this is also something weird. It's weird. I wrote it down the other day because I just have so many things I say all the time. I just like I said, I just kind of infused in my like energy on a daily basis. Just like they're like obviously the embrace what makes you unique. Just that it itself speaks for itself. Like to be yourself. But if this is another thing I do in class, like I don't, especially the kids I teach, I don't. Sometimes weekly I try to come and I'll be like that week I have a different quote or something I thought of that I say to them in class or that's something maybe similar but kind of like a motivating type of thing. And I like wrote down a whole bunch of them that I have like
here a couple.
And I literally have in my phone, I have hundreds of them. I just like every day just like some of these I'm sure you heard it before. That's the thing, but it's just your weirdness is your greatest asset. I say that all the time. Judging, I give that award all the time, judging, like stuff like that. The things that make you strange are the things that make you powerful. Those aren't even things. These aren't all quotes that are from me. They're just things I heard too. Like I say, you hear things. By being yourself, you put something wonderful into the world that wasn't there before. That's a good one. I feel like because I don't think we even myself think of that as sometimes. Don't trade your authenticity for approval. Like I feel like especially dancers as adults, especially if we start to audition and stuff, we definitely do that because you almost have to. But I almost feel like when we do that, that's actually when it's like hindering us because those are the things, again, the things that are going to make you stand out is just your authenticity. And then this is one that I actually like a little longer, but I just thought of this the other day and I forge a path to your destiny with a blade of authenticity. If and when you do, you will provide a light and space for others to do the same. It's kind of deep, but again, if it's so powerful.
No, but it's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And that's for that, like, again, that fits everything, no matter what it is. It's any type of teacher, any type of person, a garbage man, like anything. Like it's just an everyday, and like I keep saying energy, but it's just, I don't know, way of living. It's like, it's not even, I wouldn't even say it's a movement because it is like a movement, but it's like just an everyday way of living. It's how you live your life. That mindset, the mindset, I guess, would be a good thing. Yeah. But
yeah, being unapologetically yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard. Like I'm pretty, like I said, I'm obviously very open to things, but even sometimes for myself, I feel like again with like in 2022, that's a hard thing to do sometimes, even for myself, to like not judge. Like it's just like I try my best, but like I think we all do. But at the end of the day, it's like easier said than done for some people, for a lot of people. And those are things that I even still feel like I'm growing with, and I'm pretty open. So
I once went to a seminar and the speaker said that our mind, if we were in New York City, that we judge in seconds as people walk past us. We go, oh, that one is homeless, or that one is this, or that one is that. That our minds automatically doing that. And you know what? I found myself doing that.
Yeah.
And stopped immediately because I'm like, wow. But somehow it's embedded in our unconscious mind that we're looking and judging. And I'd like to be in a world where we're not doing that.
Yeah. I hope we get to that. I don't know if it will ever happen. I don't know. And I don't mean to sound like negative, but I mean, I also feel like it's a possibility, but if it isn't, we also have to find a way to live with that being what it is as well, and finding the paths and the moments to be like more positive. And I don't know. It's hard. I want to sound, that might sound weird, but it's kind of the truth. Yeah. At least in my our lifetime, I don't know, but yeah, I guess we don't know. We don't know. That's why, I mean, trying to do these things on a daily basis. And that's why I said you can almost have to like infuse it into the everyday thing. And it's like the littlest things too. Like I said, it's like, it's not that deep. At least the embrace thing, it's not a deep thing. It's just being yourself. Because when you're yourself, you're inspiring others, literally. Yep.
How can somebody learn more? Is there a website for Embrace What Makes You Unique?
Right now it's just, I have like, there's been an Instagram for a long time. It's just Embrace What Makes You Unique. And then there's a Facebook page, which Embrace What Makes You Unique. Yeah. I do have a little website that it's kind of still growing. It's a Shopify account, like Embrace What Makes You Unique. That's kind of my goal is to make, like I said, I was talking to make this a bigger thing. Like, hopefully I do. Obviously the biggest outlet to me right now is dancers that teach dance. I want it to be so much more than that at the end of the day. But right now my biggest outlet is dancers. I think we talked about this the other day too. It's just, I want to, I don't want this to sound in a bad way, but I want it to just be like more than dancers, because again, like I feel like it's not the dancers we teach or I teach. To a certain extent, we're privileged. Those kids get to do a lot of things. These adults get to do a lot of things everyday people don't get to do. And that's kind of my goal. I want it to be grow for people that may be accessible to people that can't afford those things, can't do those things, might not even be able to get online. Other countries, other worlds. I taught in Mexico last year, and that was like exciting for me because I spoke about it. I don't speak Spanish, but I tried my best. I like translated it in Spanish into like all like that was a big thing for me. Just getting the message of the movement and the message out there is honestly as far as possible everywhere. And at the end of the day, yes, I will make me feel happier and better because I feel like it's making a change, but I feel like it makes everybody else happier too.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to help you to get the word out there, my friend. This broadcasts and more.
Yeah. Some of it's me. I know I have a lot of like growth I could still do with it. I'll be honest. It's kind of like it's hard when I'm teaching and like I'm gone a lot, but it's something I need to like sit down and focus more on. I mean, you get it. I know. Just like on the like expanding standpoint of the business, you have to put a lot of energy into it. So,
Correct.
But I do think it's something simple too, that if people just literally something as simple as adding an Instagram, or now it's TikTok. I don't have a TikTok, like stuff like that, but for kids, I mean, that's the easiest and fastest way to do it. I say that all the time when I'm teaching, like just add it or whatever. And just the more people that are on there from different parts of not just the country, the world, you're going to meet new people. You're going to see other things that you don't see on an everyday basis, especially as on the dance, even as a dancer, but that's for anybody. But like I said, right now, it's a lot of dancers, obviously. So, but I don't know, the end goal I would say is to not only inspire like my students and my friends, but just in general, be like to inspire people that are maybe just struggling with embracing themselves in general, everywhere. So I don't know.
Awesome.
Yep.
Laura, have any final words?
I mean, I think this is fantastic. I do want to add one thing. I feel like we pull this into my dance studio in some ways. And we literally just started doing a new project on Saturday with my littles, and it was we had snowflakes, and they're 3, 4, 5, they're little, my Saturday babies, and I'm their teacher, and I said, we're gonna fill in our snowflakes, and it says we have their name on it, and it says I am, and there's a blank line. And I talked about, when the snow falls, and I said, what's so unique about snowflakes? And there's always one. They're all different. They're beautiful. They're sparkly. I said, right. And I said, just like us, we're all different. We're all unique, and we're all special in our own ways. So I always say to them, like, you have to think about something that makes you unique and special. And we write them down on our little snowflake. So in January, we're going to have 300 plus snowflakes all over our dance studio, and they're going to, parents can come in and obviously read them. But what they're saying, like, it's nice that, like I always say to them, we all love dance in here, but tell me something else. Are you kind? Are you a good sister? Are you great at painting? Do you love, like just trying to pull other things out of them. And the things that they say is just like so inspiring and amazing. And I tell their parents, I'm like, you have to look for their snowflake when it's up in January. Like they, like the little ones really like sit there and like think about it. I'm like, we're going to take a couple minutes to think about it. We're going to do some tapping and we'll come back, and like, but what they come out with, it's like, it's amazing. Like I like to help my sister do her hair. I'm a good sister in the morning. And I'm like, that's amazing. Like that's how you're special. And that's how you're unique. So I feel like there's definitely ways as teachers and studio owners to pull this in. And that took 3 minutes from my class. It's not like they were sitting there, they were changing their shoes during it anyway. So there's definitely ways that us as studio owners and teachers can really help pull this unique idea and help these kids feel proud from within, and not just dancing, like what we're saying, like those critiques, it is really important, because like you said, not many of them are going to dance professionally later on. And even if they do, they're going to have to find that inner strength anyway.
Oh yeah. They're going to need it more.
Well, yeah, I was just saying, if you're like, I always say, like, if you're not being your authentic self, like, especially if you want to do dance for a living or any type of entertainment, like you're just a number. So like, if you're not exuding that energy of being yourself and you're not comfortable with that, I mean, not to sound horrible, but it could work, but it's going to be you're going to have a tough time because that's, again, what makes you stand out in that room. I don't know, or that whatever you're doing. And again, those are the things I feel like I mean, I did pretty well dancing when I danced, but professionally, but I feel like I could have done so much more. I was really young when I was auditioning a lot, and those are things I became more comfortable with as I got older. And I kind of think back, I'm like, what if, kind of a what if thing, which I shouldn't do either, but I do that all the time because I became more comfortable as I got older, which is, I feel like, a common thing as well. But oh, I shouldn't say that sometimes. Like I shouldn't say,
I think it's experience makes us more confident.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know. I always say too, like individuality and authenticity, like will never go out of style, no matter what age or whatever.
No, and I actually think in our society today, it's needed. It's what people want. They want authenticity from the people they do business with or their neighbors. I think that's something that I don't know why, but I feel like it's since the pandemic there is a desire for authenticity in this world. I hope it continues.
Yeah. That would be one good thing from that. I think that's a one positive thing that came from that, possibly.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the pandemic?
Yeah, I'm like that's a good thing because I always feel like that's there's positive things that did come. I mean, that sounds horrible to say.
I think this was a lot that came out of the pandemic. That's another show, but I do think it realigned everybody's, I don't know, goals, what's really important. It had a lifetime impact on those of us that lived through it. I know I'm a different person. Okay, we got to go because I'm over time. But you said something that I'm going to close us out with. You said enable them to turn on their light. What if we all go back to our classrooms this week through this whole rest of the season and make it our goal to turn on these kids' lights, to make that a priority in what we're doing, not to make them the best soloists, but for them to embrace who they are, because then they will become a better soloist, embracing who they are. So think about that. There's more to what we're doing with the kids that we have the honor to work with on a weekly basis than the steps that we teach them. And Andrij, you helped to prove that point today. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Laura. Thank you all for tuning in. If you watch this on demand, please let us know what it is that you're doing to make your studio unique or to help turn that light on for your kids. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.